Why does Hans Niemann give up a queen for a measly rook? We're rewinding to find out. Why do some say that he was there at the birth of chess? That he taught Magnus everything he knows about rook endgames? We're about to find out the epic power within. He's playing black against Alexander Bortnyk. It's titled Tuesday, late August, online chess, and after knight c3, knight f6 from Niemann, we get bishop f4. Bortnyk daring to play the Jabava London against the man who gave us such nuggets as this in his chessable course on this line.
Again, in the course, I have a saying about this position. So, our opponents play e6, and we don't really know if they are comfortable going into the French, because some of our opponents might allow us the chance to go for the French, knowing that we won't go to the French, because we think that they're comfortable with the French, meaning that they're going to be more comfortable in the French than we are in the French. However, they can also know that we are comfortable in the French, and that we think that they are comfortable in the French, thus making us not go into the French transposition, thus letting them play e6 without actually having proper knowledge of the French. And that's why this course is the greatest of all time.
Now we see pawn a6 taking control of a key square, and both players decide it's time to push those little rook pawns. No one's got a clue what's going on. Now we see some sensible stuff. That bishop is challenged, and after takes, you would think queen takes back perhaps, but no, pawn takes, going for some imbalance. Niemann carries on developing, the knight jumps out, more bishop tension, this one centralises, keeping pieces on, and after the final knight develops into the game with a nay, we see both kings castle. Quick king safety fist bump, exploded out, that was meant to be king safety, stumbled over my words, and after queen b3, pawn attacked, we see it defended here. You just don't get commentary of this level on other channels. Do consider subscribing, really helps my self-esteem. And now, after pawn h3, we see one of those beautiful sights. All four pawns advanced, creating a hub, outlining where the cut and thrust of the central action is about to take place. We now see bishop takes, pawn recaptures, kicks the knight, it can't come forward, can't come backwards, or can it, to this very stinky square. Dad's absolutely ashamed. What are you doing back here? But watch what Niemann's got planned. Looks like Bortnyk's taking over the centre, but Niemann now fights back with pawn to d4. The knight unceremoniously kicked. Now the centre is defended by the c-pawn, and after this bishop drops back, Niemann's first to the punch. Look at that absolute professor clump of pawns, and pawn f4, Andreas spinning the beats. What an exciting game this is. They're both such uncompromising players, and Niemann plays the best move in the position. Aggressive, attacking. Can you guess it? It's the explosive pawn to c4, and you're sticking it on a square that looks impossible. Best is actually queen b4, because if takes, there's knight takes here, different kind of game. But in the game, we see pawn takes, and this asks an important question. How are you holding on to your centre? Doesn't look like it's defended enough times. What if takes? Well, then queen takes, and white is doing well. This is weak. But that's not the point to take back. This is the point. Niemann spawns that seahorse, and if you come to c2 to protect this central pawn, then you run into d3 and you're losing a piece. So let's run back. Queen b4 is the best move, played by Bortnyk. Now Niemann can take this one here, and he also pressures the bishop now, prepares to push this guy. So c5 was played in response, opens up an attack on this pawn, but Niemann's got it worked out. He plays pawn a5 and kicks the queen right back. If you try and capture here, well, you're running into problems with this undefended one. You can take with check, the knight's overloaded, and there you win a piece as black. Hit the rook. So let's run back. We didn't see takes. queen e1 selected, overprotecting the bishop. You could now win a pawn, but instead we see d3 first, discombobulating that woeful pony. Now takes is played, and you've not quite got time for things like pawn b4, because queen d4 check is coming and you're in a world of pain. So this is necessary. Cover the king. Now the knight gallops in, and just like that, you've paralyzed this pawn, really sitting on the head of that pawn, and this past monster is running. Rook d1, but b4 you can say, crazy Uncle Kramnik. That one advances, the knight centralizes. This is the one thing Bortnyk's got going for him. An absolute octopus, soon to be landed. So queen d5, a real Black Widow spider, is played in response. Supporting stuff. Not getting blocked out of the game after this knight hops forward. The pawn is about to drop, but now it kicks on, and how harmonious is that? The knight's defended by the centralized queen. Niemann playing some chess worthy of the gods here. Now the queen invades, going for the counterplay, but the rook slides simply back. Covers the weak point. Its job was done down here. Bishop e3 on the board, going for the pawn. Apparently, what was stronger? Some kind of queen c7 waiting business, but not easy. This selected, and Niemann also goes a bit wrong here. His best move is apparently knight f6, using some tactical stuff. If takes, this is weak. If you don't take, it can really start hopping, but missed. Understandably, this rook move was played. Queen c7, and the stinky f6 is the follow-up. Now if pawn takes, looking lovely, the knight gallops back into the game, but white now has a way back in to fight against the bind. Not easy though. Rook f3 a strong move, or queen c4 even, offering an exchange of those queens, trying to use this dominant piece in the endgame, but instead Bortnyk plays a tactical shot. Bishop takes on d2, and it gets those double question marks of doom, because after knight captures, queen c2 reveals the point. If your knight moves, your queen drops, but this is where Niemann has seen that step deeper, unveils the tactical brilliance, and takes off that rook on f1, leaving his queen to hang because he's seen a sting at the end of the tail. Can you find the move if I give you 31 gazillion seconds? Well done if you saw. Knight to e3. And because the queen's attacked and has to be saved, you can now pick up the rook. It's defended by the pawn, and just like that, you've got two rooks for the queen, and it is a correct assessment. Black is doing well here. f5 from Bortnyk. He sets up the overpowered pawn cube, also known as the pube in the business. Niemann can't handle it. He shaves that one immediately, making room for his knight. Bortnyk does the same back. We're just left with a two-man army now, and the knight is about to hang. So we see this one supporting its brother. Knife f5, as Kasparov would say, worth a pawn, such an aggressive attacker, and we're going to see why. Now there is a threat to push the pawn, potentially, so Niemann now covers. Good chess. Queen d6 played, supports the push of the pawn, and hits this one. You could save it, but not played. Rook e8 instead. Queen takes on e5, and Niemann now should turn his attentions here. Start opening some lines for the knight, for the rooks in different ways. But he doesn't do it. He plays this move, and he's getting a bit too focused on Bortnyk's plans. Because if this was played, which Niemann probably expected, then Black's doing fine. King h7. The queen can step back. But pawn g6, kicking away this guy, Black starts unraveling. However, the pawn was not pushed. Instead, the immediate queen g3. And it threatens mate in 1. And if you play rook a7, selected in the game, g5 wasn't helping much either, or you run into knight takes. Well, anyway, knight takes here with check. Pawn is pinned. So the king sidesteps. This is now a scramble. Ignore the bar, anyone could win this game, especially that queen and knight attacking force. It's pure chaos. Now rook b7, queen d4, and it's tough for black because yes, black is technically winning, but white's got the queen, the knight, the pawn, the king is exposed. Rook d5 is played. Knight f5 was also possible there, trading that knight, but this selected. Looks like you're winning a piece, but this can be played. Just saving grace. This rook's now about to drop. Slides over to the corner. We get queen c7, and it threatens an x-ray checkmate. You know, if this one moves, bang, you get hit with this. This is now a decent move, because after takes, king takes. If queen f4, going for some invasion, there's rook f5. No pawn here, attacking the square. We're going to see why that's relevant, because after a4 played, g4 now on the board, setting up ideas of knight f5, removing this guy, or trying to get access to this square. Niemann should start checking. Something like this, maybe not this move, sorry, then you run into this, but let's run back. Let's say you go here. You can basically bring this knight into the center, anticipating g5, vacating the square via the rook move, and black should be doing well. But not played in the game, we get knight to e8. And it's a big mistake, because you can now play captures, king takes back, and queen f4. And just like that, Hans Niemann, despite the earlier brilliance, resigns this game. Because what to do? This knight's about to drop. You know, let's show a sample line of something random. The whole point is that you'll always drive away this king and pick up the knight, and then it's game over. If you try to defend, no good. You still drive the king, and then the knight drops. If you try and move the knight, still no good. King goes, and then pawn runs, basically going through. Or if you take, rook drops over here. You can't fight all the threats. This is game over, and the time incredibly low, lost on time in fact. Hope you enjoyed this epic titled Tuesday game, and have a look at the video on screen in case you missed Niemann earlier in the week raging after this titled Tuesday game. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.